And we're live. Let's get the chat started here. There we are. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Audio looks good. Visual looks good. Let me get a visual going for myself to see all your wonderful comments in the chat, or your criticisms, if those come up. All right. Got that going. Looking good. Welcome back to the stream, everyone. Got my sloth mug today. Have a nice day, everyone. About 2 or 3 hours in, I'll switch it over to this. Whoa! Look at that. Sun is going nuclear outside. There we go. Okay, let's get to it. Welcome back. We are going to dive in to some more JavaScript and Phaser. Today we will be constructing a fantasy and adventure game. The simplest form of it, just a choose your own adventure with different text boxes and options and different characters to talk to. And then once we finish this, which I don't think this will take too long, it's pretty simple on the functionality side of things, we'll switch over to making like a Space Invaders mock-up, a tribute to Space Invaders with our little Cody character and bugs. So let's jump in. If you want to follow along, this has been a course on JavaScript and Phaser. You can go check it out on YouTube. I'll have the whole course listed on there after everything expires on Twitch. So you can search Noctophonics on YouTube and then find all of those, watch along if you please. Yeah, let's get right to it. So creating a fantasy adventure game. As you can see, they've constructed for us the preload images and then some helper functions, as well as, of course, the create section and the config object. So we'll be adding more functionality to this. At the start, you cannot see anything on the screen. Nothing has been initialized. So we will be adding not only the functionality, but also like how to display the game on screen. All right, so first step, we're going to be developing an interactive storytelling game with orcs, knights, and wizards. Our first step is going to be adding in a create function in our Phaser project. Okay, so we need to add in a create function. They don't even have that. So they don't tell us where to put it, but we do know that we need it somewhere. So let's go to step 2. In create, let's start by adding in the background. Okay, so I'm guessing it's going to be underneath all of these helper functions before the config objects. Around like line 80, we'll start there, and just declare it with function. You can do it any way you please, but they've been teaching us, at least guiding us to do it like so. Create, and then we need the code block for that. Okay. And I think that is in the proper place. Yeah, underneath all those helper functions. All right, so within it, let's create a background by adding the image with the key background using this add image. We want to display it from our top left corner, so pass in 0 as both the x and y values. Save the result as gamestate.background, and we'll need it. Okay, so let's do this .add.image. Inside of here, there are 3 properties. First one is going to be the x coordinate, so we'll put in a 0 for that. Y is next, put in a 0 for that as well. And that just tells it to start printing from the top corner of the screen. If you say change these to more like middle values between, I think we have it set to, yeah, they have the canvas set to 450 by 550. If you set it to like exactly the middle of those 2 values, then it would pop up in the center of the screen, or the corner of it would start populating from there. But in this case, the corner will start in the top left corner of the screen that we have. So then we need to add in the key. This key accesses the preload image of background that they gave us. That's just a link to wherever that file is saved on the internet. So we'll put in background, and that's all we need for our arguments within the thisAddImage method. We'll set it equal to GameState.background. Okay. So in this, I think, let's see. So in the last project, we didn't have a GameState object initialized that I remember. Or no, we had the GameState object initialized, but we didn't have a certain array that we needed populated. That was in talking about the painting a Pegasus one. But in here it looks like, so GameState it does exist. It looks like they declared it at the top. At the very first line, they just said let GameState equal an empty object, and then they populated it with a few things. And so we are adding to that with our GameState.background, creating the image within the GameState object that we can reference later. Okay, so this creates a background centered at 0, 0. So let's go ahead and save that and see what we get. Okay, so we have a pink page on the background, right? So this is like the width of our game, right? That's the area that we set with or we didn't set it, but they set it with the width and the height here. So it's 450 pixels by 550. And we were trying to populate our background in the left-hand corner. The problem is that 0, 0 is it's seeing the right point, like it's drawing it from the right point. The problem is that it draws it from the center outward. It doesn't draw it from the top left corner of our background outward. So we need to amend that here. And we can do that by setting setOrigin to indicate we want to change the behavior of how our image is centered. Okay, so if we call the setOrigin method on GameState.background, it'll tell Phaser that we want our X and Y values to represent the leftmost and topmost of our image. Exactly what we want. Okay, so on this, we can add this setOrigin method right onto our image. So if we do setOrigin, so just dot right after the parentheses there, after the background property, setOrigin to 0, 0. So this is saying that at 0, 0 within our canvas, set that to 0, 0 within our image, because it's automatically set to the center of that. All right, let's save it and see what it does. There we go. Yeah, so now we have our background image. It completely fills the canvas now, at least what we set for our game box. And yeah, we've reset those coordinates. Okay, let's create a new function for rendering a character called renderCharacter. This will update the image inside our background with the image of the relevant character who is speaking. Okay, is this within? No, this is outside of. This is key. So outside of create a renderCharacter function that takes two arguments. Scene, the scene itself, so we can use the scene plugins to create the image, and key, the key to the image to display. Okay, so very important, outside of create. If you put it within create, this will cause some conflicts later, or it won't be able to run as a helper function. It'll only run like once and then never be accessed outside of create. So we want this to be able to be accessed by create and the update function that we inevitably will code in. So we want to create a function called renderCharacter. This one, I think the way they're setting it up is just like the simple function declarations. You can do it any way you please, but they're just doing it all the standard, like you literally type in function and then the function name you want. So let's do that function of renderCharacter. And then within this, it'll take two arguments. So within the parentheses here, we put in scene and then key. So the key will access the image that we want to display, like the background string that we put up here. And then the scene is just like for the game scene itself. It says the scene plugins. I'm not sure what it means by that. I'm guessing it's just like the phaser scene preloaded into there. Okay, so we have that. We have our function set up. So inside of it, our first step is to remove whatever image might already be there. Check if there is such a thing as GameState.character, and if so, call the GameState.character.destroy to get rid of the image that's there already. So yeah, this will help so there's no overlap. Because if this runs multiple times, then what happens with, like we saw with like the treasure hunter game or other things with scores, if you don't like delete or reset the text, it'll just like overlap, and then you'll get with text you'll just get a black bar because there's so much text that's populating. But within this, we would just get like characters stacked on top of each other. So within this, we want to call the destroy on if there is a GameState.character. So if GameState.character, so if that's a true value, if it exists at all, then we will say GameState.character.destroy, and make sure to put, this is a method, or yeah, it's a method, so make sure to put those parentheses there. All right, now that that's freed up, let's assign a new GameState.character. So use the scene add image to add the image to the corresponding key, or corresponding to key at the coordinates 270 and 30. So this is handy. So we're going to do scene adding to the phaser scene stored in the config object. Scene add image. And then this is going to set up a generic way to add in any image that we want. So we're going to put in 270 for the x coordinate, and then 340 for the y. After this, we're going to put in key. And so this, actually, do we need a string for that? I don't think we need a string. Yeah, I don't think we need a string because it will become a string, right? If we put this, basically what this is doing, it's saying that take this argument, the second argument in our function, and use that, whatever that value is, as what you're grabbing to populate at this coordinate. So if we put that in a string, then it's not going to access the key property or the key parameter. Get my vocabulary straight there. It's not going to access the key parameter if we put this in a string. It's just going to say, okay, where is key in the preload? And then it's not going to find anything. But this way, if we just leave it as a variable set, just typed out like that without the quotation marks, then it will take the value of whatever key is. It will be a string. It will turn into a string, but we need that so that the function knows that it's putting this parameter here. All right, so we got the image added there to, and then we need to make this equal to GameState.character. Character, and then have this equal to the image that we're adding. So any image that we put in from the scene that we have, it'll be set as, it'll be set by this. All right, so let's try to render the character in create now. Call the render character this and night within create to see if we're rendering the character correctly. Okay, so we're back in the create function. We're going to say render character this, comma, and then the string of night that will access the night image that has been preloaded. This, the word this there, is being set as the scene, right? So all that we want to do, this, you could name this anything, but all that we want to do is say that the scene that we are currently in, use that, which is basically just everything that we're coding in this file, right? Basically, they're just using that so this becomes scene instead of it becoming the game object, right? Or the game state or any other object. They want that first parameter to be the scene. Okay, so to add the image of the corresponding key, yep, we did that one. I think we're just calling this function, so that should be enough. Just render character this night. So we are not rendering the character correctly. Perhaps, let's see, render character this and night within the create. This and night. Looks like I spelled everything correctly. Maybe I was wrong about this. Maybe this needs to be a string. No? No, it does not need to be a string. Let's see. So we're calling the function that we created here. Does the function need to come before the create function? GameState.character scene add image. Scene add image of the key. GameState.character, GameState.character.destroy. Oh, I see. I misspelled GameState. It's weird that it didn't throw like a reference error there because I just misspelled it. Made it. There we go. There's our knight. There's our knight. Doesn't have any legs, but there's our knight. Okay, so that's step 7. Whoa! Well, it really jumps out, but it's not exactly where we want it to be. Let's update its positioning inside render character. After creating GameState.character, call the set origin on it. This centers the x value, or set origin 0.5 and 1. Centers the x value on our 270 value, but uses the y value as the bottom of where the image should display. Interesting. So where is this going to be added? It's going to be added to after this is created. So the image here, we're going to do the same thing as we did for the background. We're going to add or do a set origin call, but this time we're going to do 0.5 and 1. And it's interesting that I'll go ahead and refresh it here. Okay, so he's still a little vague. We'll go ahead and shrink him down, and then I'll explain what I was seeing there. So then call a set scale on the GameState.character to make him a little smaller. An argument of 0.7 should do to make it about the right size. Okay, so for the set scale, we're going to just attach it to our image creation like we had here for the origin, and our percentage is going to be 70%, so we'll put 0.7 on there. And now our knight fits nicely into the hole in the castle, ready to defend his kingdom from whoever sent a wrecking ball through the castle walls. Okay. Yeah, so with set origin, it's interesting that they have us do 0.5 and 1. And they said that 1 is like saying, this is the bottom of the screen, so use that as like wherever the bottom of the image of the knight image is, or the knight, whatever's containing him. And then 0.5 is to say that we're setting it at 270, which is essentially, it's not quite, it's a little over half of this, but 0.5 and 1. Yeah, I guess there's some values going on behind the scenes that I don't know, like what the knight, his dimensions are, what his box is. But we are using a percentage, essentially. We're saying use, or the values between 1 and 0, right? So 0 is for the y value, it is at the top of the screen, and then 1 is the bottom of the screen. For the x, it is the left of the screen is 0, and the right of the screen is 1. So within the set origin method, those two values are percentages or fractions of the screen, with 1 being 100% and 0 being 0, wherever that is drawn from. So anyway, we got our knight in the castle. He is shrunk down using the set scale and positioned using set origin. Okay, so now next step is to create a dialogue. So now that we're displaying our characters correctly, let's focus on adding playability to our game. Wait a second. We are displaying one character correctly. We're not displaying the other ones. Did we miss something? No, because it was just talking about the populating the night. Weird. Okay, well, this function is set up to add anything in as the key. Like, this is just a... I don't think we need this line, the render character call in the create. So we'll comment that out for now. Or I guess we can comment it out later. But I don't think we need this. I have a suspicion that we're going to have the characters appear based off of another block of code that we're writing, depending on the person's, like the player's choices. But we'll keep that up there for now. We'll keep our knight in the castle and see what they lead us to. We're going to use and update 4 provided functions: initialize page, display page, destroy page, and fetch page. Start by reading over the given code. Okay, so we need to take a look at our helper functions that they gave us. So let's go back up to the top here underneath the preload section. So initialize page adds some basic objects to our game state. So it looks like it's adding in an options list. I'm guessing that will be the options for the character to choose, like the dialogue. Then it's doing something about a narrative background. If that exists, or if it doesn't exist, then create it. Okay. So this probably sets up the dialog box for us, or at least part of it. Destroy page removes all previous information from being displayed. So destroy, if the narrative exists, destroy. And then if the options exist, destroy those as well. So this is acting as like what we did with the characters, just in a helper function, where if a dialog box exists, destroy it first, and then with the initialize page, create a new one. So those will be together somewhere that we're writing of like destroy page first and then initialize page. Display page will draw the character text and options for each page. So we do... Okay, so for the display page, they set up like the style for the font, the narrative style, and then they set up the box for it, and then they set up the options for it, the page options. That's interesting. So they were setting up a for loop with I being less than the page options length. So page options must be an array somewhere that we haven't seen. Let's search for that. Where is the page options? It's only in 2 places. So where is page? Where is this? There's 129 references. Whoa. Oh, okay. So there's a helper function at the bottom of the code, bottom of the file. So underneath our config object and underneath the game initialization, they have fetch page. So that's the last function here. Fetch page will provide us each page to display. Inside of fetch page, we've written our first story. Oh, okay. So they've got the characters and the dialogue set up. They have pages set up. So these are all of the objects for each page of dialogue, and there's quite a bit. There's like 400 lines of code for that. But to look at it in not such an overwhelming way, it's basically just a page or a page per each set of dialogue that you have. So you have a narrative, whatever the character is saying, and then you have options for the player to choose. And then it tells the code where to go for the next page, the next bit of dialogue, depending on your choice. I would have liked to build this out. I would have liked to be guided through how to do that, because that's kind of, this is the bulk of what we would want to learn with this sort of a thing, is how to actually put in the logic of saying, okay, go to page 52 if you choose this option, or go to page 37 if you choose this option. we can take a look at this in more detail, but yeah, just the logic is there. They're just not teaching us how to do that. They're basically having us do a refresher and adding a couple of methods that we haven't seen before, which is fine. It's useful, but I would have liked to see like we're actually building this out too. Okay, we will move on. So those are the 4 functions that we needed to look at. So start off by calling, step 11, start off by calling initialize page with this as an argument at the end of create. So at the end of create, which is here now, again, we might get rid of the render character line. I don't know if we'll need it in the end, but we'll leave it there for now. So start off by calling initialize page with this as an argument at the end of create. So initialize page with this. So it's just gonna take this scene and give us a little box. There we go. We have a little box underneath our knight character. That'll be where our dialogue is set. So then let's get our first page by calling fetch page 1. Save the results in a variable called first page. Okay. So first page, let first page equal fetch page 1. Okay. Fetch page 1, first page equals that. Now let's use that first page and display it by calling display page. Oh, okay. Yeah, nothing showed up when we saved that because that's basically just saying, all right, this variable is set to something. We're not seeing it yet. So now we have to actually display what we grabbed from the air. We grabbed it, and now we have to show it. So now let's use that first page and display it by calling display page. The first argument to pass in display page is this, which points to the current scene. And the second argument is our page, so first page. Okay, easy enough. So display page, function call. First argument is this, and then second argument is first page, the variable that we just set up. Now, I think that you wouldn't even need to set this variable. You could just say, like, you could put fetch page here as the second argument, and it would work just fine. But this just helps for like readability and perhaps like if you wanted to change first page somehow, you could set the variable differently. But yeah, you could also just say fetch page 1 if that's always going to be the case. Then you could have a display in there. Okay, so we have our display page set up like that, and let's see what happens when we save that code. Nothing, because we don't have anything within display page. Oh, we don't need I was setting it up as a function declaration. We don't need that. We already have the function. It's just a function call. There we go. All right, cool. So now we have dialogue. Of course, it's the wrong dialogue because that's for the orc. But we have our first page of dialogue and then our options down here. Next will be the logic to say this character belongs to this page. Okay, and I wonder, what if we get rid of the knight? What if we get rid of the knight and see what happens? Okay, so there's still no like orc there. We don't see the orc character. We'll do that next. But yeah, so far we have the character in the right position and then the options here. Okay, so displaying each page to make our adventure game. So now let's actually render our page information inside display page. So inside display page, the first thing we want to do is render our character. Okay, so back up in the helper functions where we saw display page, which is on line 44. So within this one, we need to call the render character function with scene as the first argument and page character as the second argument. Okay, so that should be underneath everything here. Yeah, for options here. So there's quite a lot as far as like the code for the options going, just setting up like what those display as. Underneath all of that, we can start rendering our character. Render character, and this is calling the helper function. This is why, I'll type it out first and then explain. This is why it was so important to have it outside of the create function. So we're going to go ahead and do, render character, scene as the first argument, and page.character. And if you remember, that is going to be plugged into here. So then the scene is just the scene that we're in, the current scene. And then the key becomes the whatever is stored within the page.character property. So then the logic of this would go, okay, so it's looking for the page.character property to use as an image. The page that we're on is page 1. So what happens is page 1 is populated, the dialog box shows up. Then it looks at page 1 to find where the character property is, and it takes that string and uses it as the key to the image that we are displaying, and then it will show up here. So if we get rid of, once again, if we get rid of the render, this was just a test to see our night. If we get rid of that line of code and refresh it, it'll show our orc. And basically the orc character is attached to every page of dialogue that he has. So it'll look at the page and then say, what's the character property of that page? It's the orc, so let's bring the orc in. So now we have our orc set to the proper dialogue there. This is why, because we are using or calling our render character function inside of a helper function that is outside of the create function, that's why it was important to create a separate helper function that could be accessed. If we put it inside of create, it would only have function scope and therefore not be accessible by other helper functions outside of create. And that might not make, might not seem like such a big deal, but what we have been doing so far is just putting everything in like either the create function, the update function, or the preload. Those have been our 3 big sections that we've been working on. We haven't been doing a lot with like helper functions that exist outside of those three blocks. Now we are, and now it's good to know that that would be a reason why. If you're using helper functions and you want to access one, you need to make it have global scope versus function scope. So basically these, on the hierarchy of things, the functions are all on the same layer, the way that we've set them so far, which is good. So they all have global scope. So notice in display page a for loop that creates each of the options as option box and option text. So it's guiding us to this part of the display page function where we have a for loop setting up all of our option box data. Okay, so at the end of that for loop, we're going to change it so that clicking on an option box will turn to the appropriate page in the story. Cool. Start by setting the option box as interactive. So this will be... So I guess our character, this can just stay at the bottom. We're going to put our option functionality above this, like underneath all of how it's setting the boxes to look. We're going to add in the interactivity for it. So option box as interactive. Where is this being stored? We need to see option box stroke color. Okay, so it's set as a variable within the function, so we can just call that as its own object here. So option box this one is just option box dot set interactive. Interactive. There we go. Okay. So are they clickable? They're not clickable yet, but we know that they are interactive. We've set it to that. Now we need to add in our listeners, right? So let's add in a pointer up event to option box. We want to provide this event handler with our option variable as context. So we need a pointer up. So let's see, can we remember what the, thank you for the follow. Can we remember what the pointer up syntax was like? Because I remember, so inside of the parentheses there, it's pointer up But we'll go ahead and write that first, and then maybe check on what the syntax is for that. So we need pointer up. I remember it's like on, so it needs to be option box dot on. I don't know if there's anything in between those two. We'll try that. So pointer up, this one, set the event to option box and then option variable as context. So option. I'm going to take a look at the hint because I don't remember the context or the syntax for this. Okay, so yeah, it's the on method, and then you declare an anonymous function. And yeah, so I remember the third argument being the context, but I didn't know what was in between. So there's a function for what it's actually doing when you click on something, and then saying like the target of that, or where it's getting its information from. Okay, so we have that. So then inside of our pointer up event, let's start by getting the next page. Since we passed option into our context, we can refer to this dot option. Okay, so option then basically becomes a property of option box. So create a variable called new page and set it equal to this dot option dot next page. Ah, okay. I'm seeing the breadcrumbs connect here. So this is going to be this dot, or no, we need our variable declaration first. So new page, you make this a let new page equal this dot option dot next page. Okay. And that's just a property that we're creating there. Now, this is interesting because this next page, I saw this down below. Control F there. Let's go down and see where this is. Yeah, so next page is going to access, very simply, the next page that you're going to after you click an option. So if you click the say hi option, then it will take you to page 2. If you click the ignore option, it will take you to page 41. That's elegant. Cool. Now again, they didn't really walk us through how, or like their logic for setting this up, but we're kind of seeing it backwards, right? We're putting in the functionality and then seeing where it connects to what they had set up. Okay, so check if a new page is undefined. If not, we want to do two things. Call destroy page to get rid of the current page, and call display page with a scene and the results from fetch new page. Okay, so with this is outside of, is this outside of our listener, or is it still inside? Yeah, this is still inside. So we need this to be, add an if statement here. If new page is equal to undefined. I don't know, I think we just need to write undefined. Yeah. That's like if you write like a Boolean true or false, you don't need any quotations around that. It's not a string, it's just the word undefined. So if it is undefined, then destroy, or no, if it's not undefined. So call display page with scene and the results from fetch new page. Okay, so I'm just going to set this to not instead. So use that exclamation point equals equals undefined to see if it's not that. If it's not that, we want to destroy the current page. Which this destroy page, is that from this dot options? What is our this currently? Our this is our option box. So call display page with scene and the results from fetch page. So how do we access the current page here? Is it, oh, wait a second. Is page is a parameter. Okay, so we can access that directly. I don't know if we need this because this is like referring to option box. So let's just try page dot destroy page. See if that works. And then the next one is going to be the display page. Display page. The scene and the results from fetch new page. Okay, so within this, we need our two arguments of this. But this isn't going to be the same this. Before we added that, it meant the scene. Is scene also, okay, scene is also a parameter of the larger function here. So let's try just declaring that there, scene, and then fetch page, new page. New page. Okay, something like that. Let's see what it does. Yeah, I didn't think so. Felt very dubious. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm learning code mostly for the fun of it, although I do see the potential for making a career out of it. I'd love to design a few video games down the road. I have some ideas. But yeah, mostly just casually, just for fun. Okay, so what do we have going on here? It's a lot of reference issues, right? Whenever there's like absolutely nothing on screen, it's a reference problem. So let's see. So I think I understood like what they wanted as far as the instructions goes, just not how to access that. New page. Maybe I can just call the destroy page as a function like this, but then fetch page, new page, destroy page. The results from fetch page, new page. Maybe just like, maybe this can be this. Does that work? No, I didn't think so, because this is currently set to, because of our context, it's set to option box. I'm going to check the hint out here. So your event handler should look like this. Destroy page. Okay, got that much, because I was like, destroy page is a function in and of itself. We don't need a this or anything to access the property. Display page, scene, fetch page. Yeah, that's what it looks like. What am I missing here? So everything was essentially correct. I probably missed a brace somewhere. Yes, I did. Yeah, because this is supposed to be outside of that. Or no, that's correct, because that one is the function. That's the function brace. That's connected. This is connected to option. Oh, wait a second. I missed a very important thing. It's called a comma. There we go. Okay, yeah, it was just a syntax issue. I was missing this comma between, so there's three arguments here. Pointer up, or three parameters. Pointer up, the function that we made with our if statement there, and then the option. These are all separated by commas, and if you don't put in the comma, then it thinks that this is all just one argument. Okay, got our comma in. Now, does it work? It does work, but as you can see, as we go through the options, it overlays like the other options on top of the boxes, so that's not gonna help us. All the dialogue is deleting itself, but we need to do that the same thing for the option boxes. Okay, so make interaction noticeable with hover states. Wait a second. Okay, so I missed something else then, because now it's like it's moving on to highlighting the option boxes. So our destroy page is not working completely. So on destroy page, let me look at that hint again. I think we had everything. Oh, whoops. Oh, it was step 19. I skipped a step. Okay, so now that our event handler is created, we need to add our options to GameState.options. So call GameState.options.push and give it an object with option box and option text. This is going to be underneath our handler, the option box.on, but still within the larger display page function. So we need to call GameState.options.push and give it an object with option box and option text. Wait, give it an object? Okay, keyword object. We need to create this as a little object here with the keys of option box and option text. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I've been wanting to investigate coding for a while. I like it so far. It's a constant puzzle. Sometimes a headache, but a constant puzzle, and a rewarding one. All right, so we're gonna push our option box and option text in. I think we can do it like this, where it's just like the destructured version. We're not actually like specifically declaring the keys. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Cool. So now we have our options working, and they're not overlaying. They're removing the old ones and displaying the new ones. Sweet. Okay, so now we can play our game. Hey, we have a choose your own adventure game. Now we need to make it so that it's a little more user friendly. So it's hard to tell exactly that it's intentional for us to click on the different choices provided. So we want to add 2 more events for option box before calling the push. One for when we hover over it, and the other for when we stop hovering over it. So let's add the highlighting choices. So give option box a pointer over event handler and pass our handler a context with option box and option text. Okay, so this will be above our push. So option box.on. We saw this with the Coloring a Pegasus game. We need a pointer over. Put in that comma, do a function. I don't think this one had any context. They're just saying to add that in, or no, yes, it does have context. So we then declare our function here as a parameter, put in another comma, and add the context of option box, comma, option text. Okay. So step 20. Let's highlight our choice by updating the option box's stroke style. We can do that by calling this.optionBox.stroke style. This makes the rectangle's outline thicker and changes the yellow color to a brighter gold. Okay, interesting. We haven't seen this before. So we're setting the stroke style of what's stored within option box. And we can do that because option box is set as our context. So we go this option box dot set stroke style. Okay, this one here, I'm not sure what these numbers are referring to, but we'll go ahead and trust the process for now. 0, I know that this one though, I know this one. This is the hex value declared by the 0x at the beginning. This is basically just telling JavaScript that we are declaring a hex value for the color. And then 1. Okay. So when we hover over it, it'll change to that color. I don't know, I guess, oh, okay, so this must be like a multiplier on the stroke itself. So it's saying like make it twice as thick as before. I don't know what this one at the end is. This might be like the displacement. Like you could have it be 2 and 2 or 2 and 5, and then it would be twice as thick, but then it would be like moved somewhere. I'm not sure. We could play around that with that a little bit later. But okay, so let's also make the text a bit brighter by updating its color. So set the text color with the following. Option text set color. Okay, so the text itself is going to be the same gold that we used for the box. So important note here, text requires its color as a string, like they have in the example here. So we'll go ahead and type this out. This dot option text dot set color. This will then be a string of hashtag. So there's a hashtag before the hex code. So 014. Okay. So for text, you need to have it in this style where it's a string with a hashtag. And then for the displayed rectangle needs to have the color set by 0x. So just a note about syntax. If it's a shape you're working with, you need to have it set like this, where there's a 0x and in the hex code. If it's a text color, then you just need a string with a hashtag. Good to know. So now that we have a pointer over event, we need a pointer out event for when the mouse cursor leaves the option. So it no longer looks selected. Create a pointer out event for option box and pass it in the same context of option box and option text. Okay, so underneath the event that we just created, the event handler, option box dot on. This is going to be pointer out. Pointer out. We'll go ahead and give this an anonymous function. And then the context of the same as we had before. So option box and option text. Okay. Within this, this will be returning back to the original colors and styles. So you can call the same methods that we called before and then just set it back to the other colors. So this dot option box dot set stroke style, and this will be back to 1. The color they used was 0xB38 C03. Okay, and then a 1 at the end of that. This dot option text dot set color, and this one's going to be hashtag B39 C03 or C0E, sorry, C0E. Okay, so now we have our pointer over and our pointer out events. Let's see if they work. Hey, we got some highlights. But something's off, because when we pull away, our text completely disappears. What we need to do is add the hashtag in, because I missed that. There we go. Now we got our highlights working. It makes the outer box thicker, and then it also highlights the inner text as well. All right, sweet. Now scroll down to the fetch page implementation. Try looking at the pages variable declared there. It's a series of objects to represent the flow of our game. Try updating the character key to a different value, like knight or wizard. Okay, so let's scroll down. Technically, we're pretty much done. Now they're just going to have us update it to make it our own if we want. So let's scroll down to the character pages here. Let's change the character to like a wizard, right? All right, so now what's interesting here is that since the pages are, or since we're accessing our character through our pages, when we go to page 1, it looks at the character property and says, oh, it's the wizard, and puts the wizard on the screen. But we still have the same dialogue. So if we wanted to change this, we basically either have to make the page number different for the same dialogue. Like if you had the wizard on page 30, you wanted him on page 1, you just change page 30 to page 1 and he'd appear there with his proper dialogue. Or we'd manually go in and change the dialogue here. But that's just what happens if you change the character name here based off of how we're accessing the characters. But we'll go back to orc and have that orc pop up. So then you can also update the dialogue and the option text as well. So try writing your own script and make a game for your friends to play. Okay, cool. So we can go ahead and update this dialogue. Say howdy, right? Say howdy instead, or look away. So just changing our options here. And the orc can say, what's up? Or just, sup. There we go. So you can simply change your dialogue like that. You could say, you could even give him a name. Like the orc is the character, but then the orc himself has a name. Oh, CodeCademy just reloaded the page. Hold on. Go back to page 1. Scroll back up there. Ba-da-da. There we are. So say the orc has a name, like Jeffrey. Alright, Jeffrey's saying hello to us, and we say howdy, or look away. So that's simply how you change the dialogue there. And they have it all built out for us. I think the most important thing... Oh yeah, I gotta change these back. I guess, you know, I'll keep these options. Except for I'll just let him say hello and speak like a normal human. Hello. Maybe like a question mark, like, what are you doing here in my house? In my castle that I definitely did not break. Okay, well, let's play the game. Let's see how it goes. I haven't investigated this yet. So, let's go ahead and say howdy to the orc. How about we do that? Alright, I need help getting my sugar bowl down from the cabinet. Can you help me? The sugar bowl, okay. How did you get it up there in the first place? Your what? my sugar bowl. Am I hard to understand? I can't reach it by myself, but I think you could help. Sure. Should we help the orc? We'll help the orc. How do I help? If I lift you up there, do you think you could grab it? I don't know if I trust this. Let's grab it. Thank you so much. Folks usually just slink away because of my appearance. Really? They really do that? Really? Yes. I'm an orc. Did you miss that somehow? I guess so. You and the orc discuss ogre politics while he bakes cookies. You have a perfectly wonderful time. The end. Oh wait, we gotta eat the cookies. Eat cookies. The cookies are fantastic. Request the recipe. The orc shares his recipe with you. You leave the cave feeling energized from the sugar. The end. Wonderful. Okay, so that's one ending. They definitely have multiple ones. So let's, instead of helping him out, let's look away. Excuse me. Continue ignoring him. Look, I need some help. Can you help me, or are you just going to stand there and not saying anything? What do you need? Walk away slowly. Let's walk away slowly. Oh, I see how it is. Look at the real hero here, slinking away from doing anything good. Yeah, let's just leave. So, we didn't even give the orc the time of day, we just left, and we met a wizard. Hey there. Hello, wizard. Do you have any unfinished business in my cave? Wait, this is your cave? Dude, it looks like a castle that was under siege. I think you might be a little delusional, wizard. Let's see, so make friends, make enemies, or make cookies. Well, if we make cookies... Well, he'll send us back to the orc, right? Because the orc eventually makes cookies. So make friends or make enemies. Let's make some enemies, how about we? How about we do that? I don't think you need any help with that. Wow. You got roasted by the wizard. Game over. Well played, wizard. Well played. Okay, so that's 2. That's the second ending there. Let's try to discover the rest. We haven't gotten to our knight character yet. Okay, so let's ignore the orc. Let's ignore the orc, but then engage him at the end. So he gets kind of mad at us, and then we'll just engage. To engage in passionate conversation with the orc and discuss things like adults. Yes. So he was like, "Hey, you're slinking away like a coward, not doing anything good." So that we discuss things like adults. You leave the cave with a new outlook. Your radiant confidence makes a palpable positive impact on your life. The end. Cool. So we get some emotional bonding with the orc. Okay, let's do it again. Let's ignore him completely. Let's go back to the wizard. And instead of make enemies, let's make friends now. There are many creatures to befriend here. Whose companionship do you desire? So if we say the orc, he'll probably just tell us to go help him. Let's see, the wizard. We want to make friends with you, wizard. Oh, wow. What do you want to talk? What do you want to do? Play video games or small talk? Let's do some small talk. How's the weather outside? It's okay. The worst? Great. Great. You and the wizard continue engaging in small talk. You learn you grew up not far from each other. You have a couple of mutual friends, in fact. You decide to hang out next week. Small world. You made a valuable friend today. The end. Okay. So what is that? Like four endings now? So we got the good ending with the orc. We got like I guess it was also a good ending. So there's 2 good endings with the orc. There's like, we found 2 endings with the wizard. We do some small talk with him, or then he just insults us. We haven't seen our knight yet. I think we have to tell the wizard that we need to make friends with the knight. But also, I'm very curious about the other option. If we decide instead of do small talk, we play video games with the wizard. You play video games with the wizard. The wizard keeps losing to you at video games. The wizard is a very sore loser and casts a banishing spell on you. Sheesh. The end. Okay. Let's go back to making friends. We found all the endings for the wizard, so let's go to the knight. I want to make friends with the knight. Are you sure? That guy gives me the creeps. Not the orc. The orc doesn't give you the creeps. The knight does. Okay. I don't know. Oh, then it just goes back to that option. Okay, so loops back there. Say yes. I wanna befriend the knight. Okay, summoning the knight now. Great. Hey, there's the knight. Hi, friend. Actually, I'm kind of busy. Oh, but I'll call you later when I can. That's fine. Do you have phones down here in this castle cave thing? The knight never calls, and it shouldn't really bother you, but it does. Okay. You failed to make friends in the cave. Game over. Okay. So we found 1 ending with the knight. There's probably more. I don't know. There weren't really any other options for that, though. So I wonder, with the orc, there's like several times where you can say goodbye. So let's see if there's any. So after he asks us to get his sugar bowl down, maybe do another, like ask him about that and then deny him, and then leave the orc. But if we leave, we'll just go to the wizard, and if we engage, we just go to the orc. So maybe it's not that then. Let's go ahead and make friends with the wizard. Let's do some small talk again. Say, the weather is the worst. Okay, so that's the same that's the same ending no matter what you choose. But I bet there's another one with a knight. I don't know. Let's see. Is there anything else if we help the orc completely and then... Oh yeah, so instead of saying really, where he says, folks usually just slink away because of my appearance, we just say, no problem. Oh, okay, so yeah, then the knight shows up. So, hey, did you help out that orc? So we either stay with the orc while he's making cookies and talk with him about orc politics, or we leave, we just leave quickly, and then the knight shows up. So the knight, hey, did you help out that orc? No. Okay, good. So we can just leave and then just say, actually... You really shouldn't have. How will the orc ever learn? Who are you? just an interested party. Okay. You're right. You act like nothing is wrong with what the knight is saying. But thinking about it later, you realize you should have been more proactive. Game over. Okay. So that's 2 endings of the knight. Let's see if we can find a third one. So we'll say no problem to the orc, and then say yes, we did, and then say he's saying, how will the orc ever learn? I guess. You guess? Come on, an orc should be able to be independent. Cookies? You try explaining to the knight that you got cookies and a new friend. Okay. But the knight continues being weird and rude for some reason. Game over. Yeah, I think the wizard had good intuition about the knight. He's not such a kind person. Okay, anything else? So if we say nothing at the beginning of the orc, that leads us to the same things. Then we go back to the wizard. We make cookies. We go back to the orc. Oh, he sends us back. He says, I'll send you back in time, back to the orc. Okay, so you say howdy to the orc. We say, I don't think so, and then it leads us back to the same thing. So the only way to get to the knight is by helping him out and then just leaving quickly. So we did all that. I think we found everything then. We did make friends. We did make friends with the wizard, the orc. So for our last one, let's just play some video games with the wizard and get banished from the cave. Cool. Well, anyway, all of this is being displayed and by the code that we wrote or helped to write here. So everything but the images themselves, which were made in some designing software, all of the logic here and the options were written in this code. So it's pretty cool. That's how you. It's the basic structure of a choose your own adventure game, right? I think the most important logic to take away from this is like how to switch to a new page, which was basically here. So when you man, great timing, CodeCademy. Got to refresh the page again. Might have to just refresh the whole thing. Lost connection temporarily, but we will be back in a moment. Here we are. There we are. All right, yeah. So the main takeaway from this, I think, is like how to switch to a new page, right? Because we pretty much knew how to display things, how to highlight things before, but now we're actually able to change what is being displayed on screen with our click interactions. And that was literally just with like the setup of the fetch page objects, accessing the fetch page objects with a variable, seeing if that variable is undefined. If it's not undefined, then destroy the page. So basically, like if the new page became a number that didn't exist, like we did not program in 100 different options, if somehow the number 100 got in there, it would say it wouldn't do anything, right? But instead, it's always going to show up as not undefined. This is basically just kind of redundant. It's a redundant thing so that if shows up as truthy. But if it doesn't, I see. Yeah, okay, so if you click it and it doesn't have a next page, then it will show up as undefined, and then it will loop back to the first page, right? Or no, I guess that would still be the next page, yeah. So this is sort of redundant. It's just saying that make this a truthy value always, so that it will always destroy the page and then show up with a new one. And then the option.next page is just, I guess that's the little more complicated bit. But that's basically fed in through the objects at the bottom. And underneath these option properties, they have the next page there. So it takes the options array and then looks at the option that you chose, and then takes you to the next page. That's probably the most important thing that we learned in this exercise. All right, cool. And then it's really cool because it's like this is, once you know how to do that, once you know how to switch pages based off of player input and like logic trees or, choose your own adventure trees, then you know how to do that for every game, at least the basic understanding of it, of how to switch based off of user input. You can do that for a game like this where it's super simple, or you can make it more complex. You would know how to do the logic for 2D games, 3D games, if you could code that in JavaScript. If you took the time to do that, the bare bones of it would look somewhat similar. All right, so let's move on. So let's go back and Actually, let's go forward to the phaser physics. I'm going to go ahead and switch the title of the stream